Howdy. Welcome back to Schlockaholics. I know what you're thinking. These motherfuckers again? Yep, that's what's going down. We got another holiday discussion for you guys this week, the last of our holiday lineup for the year. And we're going to be talking about a very special movie that I hope will become part of these guys' holiday rotation going forward. It is certainly going to be part of mine. I think we actually had this last holiday season, didn't we, Cody? I don't remember if this came out beginning of the year or tail end of last year.
Yeah, I think I got it last year during his sale. I think I did.
Yeah. And so this is technically my second Christmas with Happy Helladays. I don't know if you got to it at the time. Spoiler alert, we are talking about Chris Seaver's Happy
Year
Helladays,
number 2.
which we'll dig into the... What's that?
That's my second year watching it too.
Nice. So we've got a couple of Christmases with this film under our belt. I think this is definitely Septum Sin's first Christmas with Happy Helladays, but hopefully it won't be his last. It is a timeless holiday classic, and hopefully we can impress that upon you today. I don't know why I'm having some lags with my poster graphics and everything like that, and these guys aren't moving, but I can hear noise. So like most episodes of Schlockaholics, I will probably be hanging on by the seat of my foreskin while we talk about this. But before we dive into all of that good stuff, we are going to take a look at the trailer for this beast, and hopefully that will give my internet time to catch up to the 21st century. That'd be nice. There's the poster. It finally decided to show up to the party. But yeah, we're going to run that trailer, and then we're going to get into those first impressions, baby. You guys know the drill at this point. So yeah, without wasting any more time, here she is.
Silent night, deadly night.
See the way he looked at me? I don't like him at all. He's so damn creepy. Oh my god! Yeah!
Why are those girls so cruel to me, Mother? You'll be sorry, all of you. Merry Christmas, house sisters. Happy Helladays. And to all a good cry.
Oh, I gotta drop a hefty deuce.
Man, that onion in the stocking gets me every time. So, we've kind of already covered our history with this, but this was your first time watching Happy Helladays, correct, Brandon?
Yep. Oddly enough, believe it or not, I had it a while back. I had gotten it as I'd gotten it and Dingleberries off of maybe it was SRS or something. I can't remember where I got it from. But then I upgraded to the to the 2-film Blu-ray, and finally decided to watch it. Then, of course, I gifted my copy of Dingleberries and Happy Helladays to Jake, where I'm sure it's going to be gathering dust and probably not be seen.
Honestly, these two seem like ones Jake might enjoy on some level.
Maybe we can force it on him so he can hop on next year for it.
Yeah, I think we might have to start looping some people in for that as an annual tradition. Continue, sir.
But it was fine. I This is probably my third Seaver film. Because I'd watched Filthy McNasty a long time ago, and then I watched actually I guess fourth because I watched 2 of the Death of Lanterns.
True enough, yeah.
So this will be the fourth, and it comes along those same lines. I see a lot of things like that particular song reused again, and a couple of callbacks to other holiday films.
Summers, baby. Know that there.
Like a callback to Ernest Saves Christmas with that rendition of Christmas Tree. But otherwise, fairly decent for what it is. I'm not sure whether I'll watch it every year, but I might rewatch it every other year or something like that.
It's required, Brandon. That's your membership.
The biggest issue I have with it is that there are no characters that I liked in it. Because they were all
I think
bad.
That's intentional. Yeah, they're all pretty bad, except for Skippy, maybe. But, we'll get into the weeds on that. Cody, what was your first impression of this bad boy when you saw it for the first time?
I don't remember if this was the first Warlock I watched, but I almost want to say it. I don't remember if he released anything Warlock on Blu-ray before this. Was this a volume 2?
Yes, this was the volume 2. The first volume was
Death of Lanterns. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this wasn't the first one, but it was definitely. It was along those same lines. Like I think I enjoy the Warlock spin-off stuff. It's probably my favorite, just because it's intentionally, like what Brandon was saying. Like there's no likable characters. Like it's scenes that should have been cut weren't cut. Like you could see, Josh's legs in a few of those scenes, and I'm sure that was the point of it. Yes. But I like the Warlock home videos. I really like the Warlock at the beginning. I like that I think it was funny when we had Chris on that I got brain damage vibes from the Warlock, and then he confirmed that's what he was doing with it. So that was cool.
Yeah, you guys definitely turned me on to that. That was something I somehow missed out on back in the day, which is odd. Most stuff from that era I'm pretty familiar with, but that must be something that you guys had out that way that we didn't really get out this way. I'm still very curious as to why exposed to it.
I think that was coming out like when I worked at Hastings. Like Hastings got a lot of it, so I don't know if they had like some kind of deal with them. But it seemed like we got a lot of brain damage stuff at Hastings, so I definitely went through my fair share of it. But I would go late 90s, early 2000s, probably more so in the early 2000s. They're like almost like what Wild Eye is now, with just how much they roll out. There was always something coming out from them.
Right on. Yeah, I tend to agree. I love a lot of Chris's stuff. I really like the classic LBP era stuff and like the Splatter Rampage era of that stuff. But I'm inclined to agree that I think the Warlock shit is some of the tastiest turds that he ever put out. It's got that old shot on video vibe, and then like you said, the Warlock being on there as like the host element to it is really cool. I like that it's his characters playing kind of different characters, because they tend to get locked into certain roles in the Seaververse stuff and the proper Seaververse stuff, but they got to play some different shit in the Warlock movies, and that feels a little fun as well. This one has pretty much an all-star cast from that era for the most part, as small of a film as it is. You got Skippy in there, you got Josh Swire doing his maniacal bullshit, and then you've got and old Andrew Baltus, I think is his name, also playing dual characters, Skippy, and then also I forget the name of the pledge that he plays, where it's clearly a man with just a scarf around his face.
Right.
But when you're on a budget, sometimes dudes got to play a chick. That's just the way it is. Pretty progressive, if you ask me. I think that this film is one of Chris's masterpieces. I think it's one of Josh's masterpieces as well. And that's definitely going to factor into my selection for next month, which we will be talking about at the end of this episode. But I pretty much immediately fell right the fuck in love with this movie the first time that I watched it. I think even harder than I did with the Death of Lantern stuff. It's was one of those things where after I saw it and realized how brilliant it was, I immediately kind of made the family watch it. And not all of them have the same reaction, but they certainly have remembered it. It's not a film that you're gonna forget anytime soon, especially if you don't watch this kind of stuff. Uh, I think it's magical, man. It's probably one of Chris's most mean-spirited movies, but that's, you know, in the spirit of the stuff that it's sort of parodying. And at the same time, it's one of Josh's, if not Josh's, most unhinged performance. And it just works together magically. It's right under 50 minutes long, which is perfect for holiday horror viewing. I think, honestly, a lot of these holiday shorts is more in my wheelhouse than something like, I mean, I watch Black Christmas every year, but I tend to get that Black Christmas viewing out of the way earlier in the year than even Christmas sometimes. Because, you know, this year is prime example. I don't always have the most time to watch it in between the sort of family Christmas stuff. So these little, you know, 30 to 50-minute holiday shorts are pretty dope. I would like to work some more of these into the lineup every year. Revenge is another really good one to get in there if you guys haven't seen that. What were you going to say, Cody?
And it makes it easier if you're a bonehead and forget that we're doing this today, and you can rifle through it this morning.
That also helps. Yeah. It's like 45 minutes long if you cut out the Warlock stuff, which you shouldn't. 47 minutes and some change total. So not a hard one to squeeze in last minute if you really have to. If more of the Inside Movies Galore movies were that length, I think we'd have a better time for some of the members of it. But, you know, 90 is the standard, and sometimes that's what you're working with. As far as the double feature goes, you can't really go wrong with this. I think Dingleberries is a pretty fucking fun movie as well for what it is. Happy Helladays is obviously the stronger of the two on the set, at least for my money. But, you know, Dingleberries is pretty rad as well. And we will be covering that in the near future, though it isn't going to be my selection for next month. So you guys will have to stay tuned to see what that's going to be about. So the basic plot of Happy Helladays is it's just sort of a Black Christmas / I guess, not Carrie. I don't want to say Carrie, but it's got an element of that in there with the whole bullied kid flipping out and fucking taking his revenge on the sorority sisters thing. I think there's a lot more Black Christmas in its DNA than something like that or a Slaughter High, but that's certainly in there. Alistair is this little baby that was chucked against the front door of a fucking sorority house, like on Christmas Eve or whatever, 12 years ago or 13 years ago. And so the house mom of the place, I'm drawing a blank on these people's names right now, and I apologize for that, but we don't really have time to get in the weeds with all of that anyways. The house mom lady, you know, decides to raise Alistair as her own because she was a foster mom anyways. So she raises him around apparently these career college students that have all been there the entire 12 years making fun of Alistair. I've got like one fucking fly that does not want to leave here. That's what I get for leaving a lemon out. Alistair is a little fucking creep, you know. He really likes Michael Jackson and apparently jerking off to people through keyholes and the Thriller album. I've personally never rubbed one out while looking at the inserts for Thriller, but I suppose don't knock it until you try it, right? And he's just kind of a little creep. So, you know, you could say rightly so the college girls make fun of him, but maybe he's a little creep because they've been making fun of him for 12 years. We don't really know. The movie is kind of building up to this Christmas pageant that Alistair is taking part in, where he's going to be singing some beautiful Christmas music for the people. And, you know, everybody's expected to attend because it's a big what to do or whatever. Alistair's birthday is also Christmas Day. So Christmas Eve is naturally something he fixates on because it's Christmas Eve and it's also the night before his birthday. So, you know, it's a big deal for him, and he really wants everyone to stop making fun of him and come to see this fucking Christmas pageant. So as you know, these guys kind of accurately pointed out, there really isn't a lot of likable characters in this movie. They're all kind of shitheads, and they all sort of follow the I guess the archetype or the template of people that we've seen in shit like Black Christmas. You've got the girl, I think her name is Sandra, who's played by that chick that Chris couldn't remember her name either, but she plays an asshole in Death a Lantern and in this, and one or two other movies of his as well. So I think there's a running theme there. I don't know. When we eventually dig into this again with Chris in the future, maybe next year, he will hopefully have remembered her name and recalled why she ended up on that end of the stick, because he's not shy about sharing that stuff if he can recall it. So, but you know, she's kind of the drunk girl. She's sort of the Margot Kidder character from Black Christmas, where she's on the sauce a little bit too much and being pretty belligerent and very racist. And then you've just kind of got the standard lesbian sorority sister chicks that never were really portrayed as lesbians in those older movies, but yeah, you thought maybe after a few wine coolers they experimented a little bit, and sometimes that holiday spirit just gets in you, literally. So you know, that's what they are. The mom character is probably the most likable out of all of them, because she seems like a cool lady that knows rad 80s movie trivia and just kind of doesn't want them to make fun of Alistair. Other than that, she's fine. She also plays a dual character as one of the busty lesbians. I want to say her name is Jessie. Forget her last name in real life, though. It's been quite the holiday season, and I haven't been watching a ton of Seaver stuff lately. So I'm a little rusty on the particulars when it comes to the people in real life. And then who else? Am I missing anybody? We got Skippy with his fucking lantern. He shows up at one point. A couple of different points, and I like Skippy in this movie. I think that he kind of levels it out a little bit, because he treats everyone like shit, and they're all just mainly treating Alistair and the new pledge, played by the dude who plays Skippy, Andrew, like shit. So it's cool to see him come in and balance the playing field and just treat everybody like the douchebags they are. Unfortunately, at least his ball sack meets an untimely demise in this movie. We'll get to that. What do you guys think of our characters? You know, in particular, Alistair and his mom, but just in general. You guys got any thoughts or notes on any of these guys?
The mother is the most. She's the most likable of the characters. I mean, I'm pretty sure, of course, I mean, they're very heavy Black Christmas vibes with Alistair. And in a way, you could even have made this an inadvertent origin story for Black Christmas, the original. As like, okay, well, he grew up in this orphanage, and then or in this place, and then after killing a bunch of people, he goes into hiding. It's not necessarily how it works out, but I could see it. I could have seen it turn out like that.
For sure. Oh, that's it?
That's all I got.
What about you, Cody?
I mean, there's not a lot more to be said than that, but I mean, yeah, if you had to pick someone that was the most likable, it's probably the mom that's just trying to deal with the fact that how her son is the way he is, and just trying to get people to accept that and just give him the benefit of the doubt. And it makes you wonder if how much of that is his fault, or how much of that is just because how he's been treated, or he's grown up in a sorority house his entire life. I mean, I'm sure they made him worse than he needed to be, but that definitely added to his reason for him to snap, I guess.
Yeah, that makes some sense, you know. I'm sure he dealt with a lot of hazing, witnessed a lot of deviant behavior, I guess you would have called it, back in the days that this movie is supposed to take place. So I imagine that would have had some type of an impact on him. Josh is just going balls to the fucking wall with this thing in his portrayal of Alistair. It's truly a startling thing to behold the first time that you watch this movie, because he is into it and having a blast in only the way that kid can. I'm sure that this movie was almost entirely written with the intent for him to play that little kid. I find it fucking hilarious that the movie... What was that movie where Gary Oldman played the little guy? Little Toes, Littlefoot. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know why I keep thinking Little Man, but that's definitely not it.
Tiptoes. That's the name of the movie. Tiptoes. Gary Old. This is basically riffing on that. I don't know if Chris did it consciously. It's been a while since I've watched the behind the stuffs on it. But definitely Tiptoes is in the DNA of this movie. If you're not aware of this, Cody, how do we describe this, Brandon? I think Tiptoes is an attempt. I don't know what I'm trying to, I don't know how to fucking explain that movie. Gary Oldman plays an LP, a little person.
Yeah.
Fully basically the same way that Chris did it with Josh in this movie. Like, he's got the tiny legs. They have a bigger budget, so it's somehow even more ridiculous. But yeah, look up Tiptoes. It's a thing that exists and could only exist in 2003. There's a lot of people that have issue with that now. And apparently I learned through Bad Friends Christmas episode that it is a thing that little people in the community watch as an example of, like, this is the tall people doing this wrong. You know, like, this is not how you support little people. You don't have Gary Oldman with little stuffed fucking animal legs playing a tiny person. That's ridiculous. I still can't figure out what their intent was with Tiptoes, and to be honest, I've never seen the movie. I've only seen clips of it, so maybe I should give it a watch, but I just imagine it's as ridiculous as it appears to be. And thankfully Chris was able to hone in on that and just be like, yes, that's exactly what we're doing with Josh for this, because it's perfect. His little knees scooting across the ground and stuff. It is the greatest. And the fact that you can see his legs sometimes just makes it even funnier to me. But
well, he's only supposed to be a 12-year-old in this, which is different in a way, because instead of playing a little person, we got someone playing a 12-year-old. So,
well, and see, the thing is, which makes it even funnier, is at least from the way he's always appeared in the other movies, Josh is a rather short, portly little fellow. He's probably about Cody's height. They could play 12-year-olds if we really needed to. we don't have to make them.
Just got to shave.
Sorry, Cody. We don't have to fake you guys being shorter than you. It's funnier if we do,
Right.
And that's basically what's going on with Josh here. So he could have been a 12-year-old. Especially if you got him from like the Teen Ape Goes to Camp era, where Josh was a bit slimmer and still the same height. Or maybe it's just that Chris and a lot of these guys are tall. I don't know how tall they all are, but Josh has always seemed a little short.
It works better for him with him having weight on him, because it kind of, I think it does make him look more like a little kid that way.
Yeah, a pudgy little boy that's just tugging one out to that Thriller album and waiting for that Michael Jackson doll on Christmas. I love it, man.
Don't want to even know what he's doing with that Michael Jackson doll.
He's gonna beat it.
Well, we never got to see, unfortunately. Hopefully, there is a sequel to Happy Helladays at some point, because it is worthy of one. And they kind of do leave it open ended. She just sort of chokes him out at the end. You hear his neck break. But, maybe she just realigned his shit or something, chiropractor style, and he passed out from the pressure. We'll never know.
Bring him back.
I'm sure Chris won't revisit it.
Bring him back as an undead version, but have him wear the Michael Jackson jacket from Thriller, just to indicate that he's, Michael Jackson style zombie.
Fuck yes. I love every bit of that, sir. And we will send it through the proper channels immediately. Because I think Chris would dig that too. I don't know. There's something about him with the Santa beard and the Thriller jacket that would just make my fucking entire year. Chris really needs to do like an absolutely insane holiday special where he just includes every character. Like Teen Ape could be in there, Bone Jack. You get fucking Alistair from Happy Helladays. You get a little bit of just all of them. All the iconic Seaver characters in one insane holiday special would be dope. Even if it's just a clip show where the characters kind of bump into the wraparound for a minute. I would buy that.
Oh, for
So
sure.
just an idea, Chris. Maybe get some musical numbers in there. Show your balls again, and another Henry Lee Summers fucking skit. Well, we can work something out.
I think if I get a chance, actually, it's weird is I see a lot of similarities. I'm not going to say what I have seen similarities to on the one end because I'm sure Chris himself would not like that. So I'm going to use another example instead, which would be Matrosia, who did Snow Shark in their Christmas special. There's some similarities in that. Maybe next year, if we're still doing this, I'll have to introduce that one of those Christmas specials.
If we're still doing this, what the hell is that? I'm not going anywhere. That's the most consistent thing I've done in years.
But yeah, maybe I'll have to do that one year because that one definitely they both feel like they have those similar vibes to them as far as the low budget kind of trying to do a little bit almost of a retro vibe to them.
For sure. And I think this is also one of those Warlock movies where Chris nails that the hardest, the retro feel to it. And I think that's because it is sort of played on Josh's part mostly, equal parts straight horror and goofiness. I mean, you can just see it in Josh's face that while he's dorking around, there is like a sinister undercurrent to this movie that has never really managed to quite make it into most of Chris's other stuff. You know what I mean? This almost steps outside of being a Chris movie at a couple of moments because of how genuinely fucking creepy they're allowed to make it. Or we're able to make it. Like at a couple of those points where Alistair's looking through the keyhole and tugging one off. Another favorite moment in the movie for me is when he's gazing at those busty lesbians. And he leaves a little pile of goo out, a little Christmas goo outside the door. That is just good stuff. And I love how it's very clearly not a keyhole you could look through, but then he's able to look through it. I mean, it's just those little goofball things that make these movies as fun as they are. But basically, Alistair's just trying to be accepted by these chicks. They're rejecting him at every corner and just fucking roasting the shit out of him. At one point, he walks all the way to this pizza place to try and hang out with them because they basically just ditch him at the house the night before Christmas or on Christmas, basically. He shows up. They're not happy to see him there, especially Sandra. She seems to be the main ringleader that's leading the torture of this kid. And the other girls just kind of provide commentary and jokes and maybe aren't the nicest to him. But she's like slapping hot pepperoni pizza in his face. And that's not a nice thing to do to a little boy, especially on Christmas. But he makes some good use of some pepperonis later. So that's pretty.
I did like in that scene where she's talking to him, and instead of showing him, it just has his glasses in front of the camera.
Yeah,
while she's yelling at him.
I love it. As I said before in the chat. Oh, go ahead, Septum.
Even have something where it's pasted on a little bit at one point.
Right.
Those glasses are pretty fun. I've got a pair of them. I was trying to find them before the stream. It's probably a good thing I didn't because I'm dealing with some prescription issues with my actual glasses at the moment. But it would have sure been fun to be wearing those the entire time. Or fun for the people watching anyways. But yeah, pretty much after the pizza thing is where Alistair goes off the fucking rails, right? Like he ends up killing Andrew's character, the man lady that is posing as a pledge, and just rips some of her hair out and gouges her eyes out, and then puts some pepperonis and peps on her eyeballs and leaves her in the shower, which comes into play pretty hard later.
I kind of feel bad for that.
Ends up in there.
Out of all of them, that's the last character that needed to be punished.
Yeah, it seemed like she wasn't really mean.
Matter of fact, she would be into some of the same crap as Alistair.
And he points that out, I believe, when they meet in the bathroom. He's sort of like, I just want the same thing you want, like acceptance from these motherfuckers or whatever. And I think she makes the mistake of laughing at him or something, and he's like, "Don't laugh at me!" And then he just fucking attacks her and rips that fucking fistful of mullet out of her skull.
Doesn't he try to unzip her pants, and then she laughs at him because he's just a kid, and that's when he gets all pissed off.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. I love putting the pepperonis over the eyes. It's just such a fun thing to do. I don't know. It makes me want to see a movie where there's like a tooth fairy, like Hannibal, whatever you call it, Robert Harris style killer, like the tooth fairy, but they just leave pepperonis in the eyes. I think that would be pretty fun. It puts the Parmesan on the skin, or it gets the fucking. I don't know. We have to work that out. It needs to spend some time on the drawing room floor, but I think we could make something of that. I really like that whole entire sequence too, because he's just inexplicably, isn't he already in the Santa costume when he kills her?
Yeah, I think so.
I think she didn't give it to them till that night.
Actually, no. Yeah, the Santa at first I kept thinking the Santa costume was when he snapped, but no, he snapped before that because he killed her before that.
Yeah, because he didn't get the costume till that night.
That's true. Okay.
She let him have an early Christmas present because he gave the girls presents, but they didn't get anything for him. So the mom let him open that one early. And he was pissed.
Their presents is really just like department store stockings with their names cut out on like paper and taped to the front of it. That's more of a Chris thing than it is meant to be an Alistair thing, but it's still funny.
I also find it interesting that she's like, I'm going to tell you how I found Alistair, and that Alistair's not really my biological child, and that's what's going to change your mind about him. I'm like, I didn't even think that they assumed that Alistair was her biological child.
Right.
There's not a lot given on it. I mean, I guess if she's supposed to be older, if we're taking Black Christmas as the template, she's supposed to kind of be like that lady in Black Christmas that actually has booze stashed all over the house or something. So you could say that, like, if we really invest in that wig that Chris put on her, she could be old enough to have had that kid or whatever. But what kind of dorm mom just has their kid living in the dorm with them, or the sorority? It's just weird. So I don't know what I would have thought that kid was if I was in that house. Maybe just some random orphan that the house adopted or something, which is exactly the case.
Yeah,
I love that fucking scene at the beginning of the movie where you just hear like, and then the baby fucking hits the door. It's so good, dude. It's so shit. It's so fucking awesome. I love every moment of it. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know what she thought that was going to do to them. If they were willing to treat that kid that way, thinking he was her real son, what is him being an orphan really going to change, But it was supposed to be that moment that really proved how shit these people were, I guess. They don't even care that he's a little orphan boy who's a kid. But yeah, that body lays in the bathtub for quite a while. I think they do end up going to the Christmas pageant, where we get a cameo by Chris as the announcer guy, which is just delightful.
Talking into a duck.
Yeah, into a duck. I love that with the microphone. It's such a good random thing that I guess makes some Christmas sense. I think there's people that like roast ducks on Christmas and stuff like that. But to just have the microphone sticking out of its fucking neck and he's like pounding on its ass to see if the microphone's on and stuff. It's just such good, fun, random gag, like physical comedy. And then I don't know if he's supposed to be playing. I forget the name of the character now. Again, I feel bad that my Sievage or my Seaver terminology is a little rusty at this exact moment. Jacques Dequeef, is that maybe the name of the character?
See, it reminded me of
that dude basically in other movies with a gray wig on and like a stocking cap. But this one is obviously just him sort of using the voice to play the announcer guy. What were you going to say, Brandon?
It kind of reminded me of the comedian scene from, what was it? Wet Hot American Summer. That's what it kind of reminded me of. The character. Yeah.
Chris is a big fan of that stuff too, so it's entirely possible that's in there. I have to admit ignorance when it comes to that stuff because I have not watched any of that shit, actually. I'm aware of what it is. I just never got around to seeing it because I think the original. I found out about it because Netflix did like the sequel or
the
prequel
series.
stuff to it or whatever it is, and then I could never find the movie at the time. I keep meaning to get all of it, hopefully physically, so that I can check it out because it sounds like it's right up my alley.
Oh, the original,
Is it just
the
them
movie.
basically doing like faux 80s stuff with bad wigs or whatever.
Yeah, the original movie was it was really good. I never got to see the series, but I definitely love the movie. It's one of my favorites.
I think it was Chris and Bobby that said it's fucking awesome. So that's a pretty good vote of confidence in its favor if you got Chris and Bobby Heckman, in support of it. Especially Chris. Chris is a pretty staunch, like authentic 80s dude. So if it was whack, I don't think that he would dig it. But who knows? Didn't Paul Rudd kind of come from that stuff a little bit? Is he involved in that shit, or am I thinking of someone else?
I think he may have been part of the series.
Yeah, I think he was part of the series. I know that the one of the characters was what's that character's name? David Hyde Pierce, is that right?
That sounds right.
The one who played Niles from Frasier.
Yeah.
He was in it.
Again, I don't know. I'm just saying things. It sounds right to me, Brandon. One of these days, I'm gonna get on checking that shit out because it seems like it's right up my alley. But yeah, the bad wigs is mainly what I'm aware of that stuff from because they use a lot of that in that wet hot stuff, and Chris is a big fan of it too. Bad wigs really make certain characters. Skippy is a prime example of that. Which is this your guys' first encounter with Skippy, or at least yours, Brandon?
Yeah, this is pretty much my first encounter with it. Like I say, I've only really this is my fourth one, and I don't have any memory of Filthy McNasty at all. I'm not gonna lie. It's been so long.
I'd be lying if I said I did with the first one either. There's stuff from them I do remember, but I don't really recall the movies the same way I do others. But Skippy is a recurring character in the Seaververse. I believe inside and outside of the Warlock stuff. He's kind of one of those characters that bridges between the two. Like he's just in several fucking movies. My favorite being Paranormal Investigation Agency. It's such a good character, man. And this, I think, is one of the prototype Skippy appearances because he still has the lantern and shit. And I think there's one where he's like holding an electric candle the whole time. And then they eventually drop that. But I kind of miss when Skippy was just holding something because it's just funny. Because that for no reason he comes in this girl's window with like a lantern.
Yeah, I was kind of finding it weird that he was just like toting that around with him for most of the movie, and I was like, "What is that about?" All right, well, I guess that's your thing. I also liked that they were all psyched to go to see Weird Al in concert, which I would be too, but it's not something that these people who put themselves up as the cool kids tended to be excited about.
That's the beauty of the Seaververse, man. Those are the cool kids, or at least Skip. I would give him those other guys suck, but I like how he bails on his his chick to go to the fucking Weird Al concert, and then realizes what song does he say he realizes that he loves her during? I remember it being funny, but I can't remember.
It was like Merry Christmas '89 or something like that.
Yeah, it's like some Christmas song. And so he comes back to hook up with them and, hopefully drink some eggnog. Skippy's probably the only character, again, like him, and I guess his other character, the Pledge, that I feel a little bad that they got, like, assaulted. I don't know that Skippy died. I mean, he just got his balls cut off. You can survive that. I know a couple of people personally that only have one testicle because of accidents. So, it can happen,
Well, not necessarily accidents like that, but
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd even call that an accident. It was a calculated attack. Even had a zinger ready to go after it was done. Thanks for the heads, the good head, Skippy or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually talking with somebody about this a little while back, actually this week, and they had said, it's like, yeah, well, he ran into a happy accident. The character runs into a happy accident in the movie. I'm thinking to myself, happy accident.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe we're looking at a different concept
I don't
of
know.
happy.
I mean, if he was just tugging on the balls at first, maybe, but he pulls them out with the paring knife in the fucking firmly inserted into that ball bag, which is very clearly, as I mentioned, and as you saw in the trailer, an onion in a pair of nylons. And man, is it effective. It looks like a bulbous ball bag stretched to strange saltwater taffy lengths and then just severed, and it's the most Seaver kill in the entire movie. Other than, obviously, okay, we might as well just talk about the kills, because basically after the Christmas pageant where they laugh at him and rip a couple of farts or something like that and basically just troll him off the stage, his mom freaks out on the girls because it's like, that was fucked up. It's one thing to make fun of him at home, but to come here and ruin his pageant, blah, blah, blah. So they're upset. And Alistair is especially upset. I believe this is the portion where he dons the Santa costume and just starts murdering, just taking everybody out. I think the first girl that he murders is Heather Maxson. And she's probably at her most adorable in this movie as the smaller part of the pair of the lesbo sorority girls. And it's just such an unnerving scene when she's like, oh yeah, she thinks she's getting it on with that big busty Jesse. And then you just hear that like weird, like, I can't even imitate it. It's like it's a strange, like almost like Pauly Shore's like weasel sound under the covers.
Yeah.
And then Alistair just pops up out from under him. It's gross. It's great. And then he snaps her arms and he's like, I'm going to decorate you on the inside. And he just stuffs her full of fucking Christmas ornaments. I don't know. I feel like that's an amalgamation of a couple of different kills. And even some of those one-liners are taken from other movies. But it all works pretty good. And it's just super creepy. I mean, he was watching all these people and tugging it off through the keyholes before. And that's one of 2 times where he does that in the film, where he sneaks in there and like pulls the old switcheroo. Yeah. And then after that, I always forget that heavyset girl's name. She's in several of these as well. I think the first time I remember seeing her is in Terror at Bloodfart Lake as the goth girl. Where she's talking about how goth she is, and then Josh is like, you think that's dark? I pooped from my dick tip. It's fucking one of my favorite lines in a Seaver movie. Basically is playing off of her lines in Bloodfart Lake. And she's been in a couple of them, not a ton, but she's a recognizable character. And I think she's pretty great in this. I think her whole sequence where she's going out there singing that Christmas song about how she's going to smoke some weed is pretty fucking classic. And she's just getting blazed out. And then she comes in, and I think there's like a big Christmas package in the room all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
And then Alistair pops out of it and uses his high-pitched voice, which he's using the whole movie, to just create this sonic assault upon this girl that makes her fairly convincingly, for a Seaver movie, puke her heart out of her body, which is great. I especially like the part where he makes her do like this thing with her tongue to where it like looks like she's puking up an organ because she's using an organ to simulate it. And then the heart pops out and all that good stuff. What happened? After that, I'm a bit fuzzy on the sequence.
I think before those,
he goes.
I think the girl got it in the bathroom. Before those 2, where she goes to the bathroom and well, there you are. Looks like you're just hanging out in a hot tub while I'm doing all the work. And then I think that's
she doesn't get it there, but she is taking a shit through at least 3 of the other kills in the movie. That's the joke, because then she finally comes out of the bathroom and she's basically the only person left other than Alistair's mom. So she's taking a dump, and the whole reason that happens is because she plays both characters, right?
Right.
So she comes out and gets killed, and then they're able to immediately switch to her as the other character of Alistair's mom confronting him. I think Sandra's death is pretty dope, where, you know, again, fucking Alistair sneaks in there and he's like hitting it from the back as she turns on the light. I forget how he even killed. I think he like holds her down and like basically suffocates her and she kind of passes out. And then again, there's some real mean-spirited shit where he's got the knife and he's like cutting her lingerie and stuff like that, and then he rips it all aggressively. It's intense for a Sievert movie. Usually, you know, if he wasn't trying so hard to pay proper homage to that mean-spirited, like Black Christmas style 70s slasher shit, I don't think it would have been like that. He probably would have made some joke out of it, but it feels very sinister. And then he ends up just stabbing her with a pretty convincing, you know, cut blade. They do the whole thing where the blade's cut in half. He's able to wiggle it between her tits a little bit and stuff. For my money, in the movies that this girl has done with Chris, this is probably my favorite scene. And she's getting killed, and none of us can remember her name. And she didn't seem like anybody really had that many pleasant memories of her on the sets, so fuck her, you know. But at least we got this good scene with her in there, and she plays a convincing asshole in the movie, potentially because she might have been one in real life. But I really, really like that scene, you know, and then that's where Skippy comes in. So he kind of like double tricks them with the whole thing, because I think Skippy comes in again and he's like, "Oh, girl, what are you doing fondling my balls?" or whatever. And he, you know, then the fucking lights come on and he's got him pulled out with the paring knife and he snips fucking Skippy's balls off. And that's a wrap. Or that's a sack. I don't know, whatever you want to say there. So then we're basically left with him confronting, you know, the dual character of, I think it's Jessie Ames is the name of the lady that plays the mom and the busty lesbo. And how does he kill her? Doesn't he just kind of wrap her up in garland? I don't remember how he actually dispatches that girl.
There's the garland, and then she takes the Christmas ornament, and he pushes that in her mouth and makes her eat it until she dies, which is pretty nasty.
I think he did that to Heather earlier.
The first one.
Well, the mom doesn't die.
The mother doesn't die. No, she
doesn't die, yeah. But the other character she plays does.
Yeah, I think it was Garland. I think he choked her out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cody. Sorry.
That was. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. That's what they showed in the trailer.
Yeah, Garland.
He choked somebody out with some garland.
Yeah. So he just does choke her with the garland. That's what I was confused on. I didn't remember if he did anything else after that. But then his mom confronts him. And he's pretty pissed that he didn't, you know, because they do at one point let him open all of his presents basically on Christmas Eve. Save for one, which was the one that he really wanted. And he's, you know, in addition to being pissed at these girls for making fun of him, he's also pretty fucking bummed that he didn't get his Michael Jackson doll for Christmas.
And I think that was basically when he had decided at the end of it all, they all gotta die. It's done.
And yet she never made it sound like he wasn't gonna get it either.
Yeah, that was the thing. It's like she kept saying, "Well, we'll see if Santa Claus brings it for you tomorrow."
It was pretty clear. I think, if anything, it was obvious he was getting the Michael Jackson doll, but he's an unhinged little kid that's fucking jerking off while looking at people through keyholes. So he's not exactly in a right frame of mind to pick up on maybe those subtle hints, I guess. I don't know. But he's pretty pissed about it, and the reveal of him getting the Michael Jackson doll is pretty priceless. I like how they do the whole what was that movie where they never
Pulp Fiction.
The Pulp Fiction thing.
Yeah,
where
light up.
You never see the thing, but you just he's like, "Oh, it's glorious," which I'm sure it was. I never had a Michael Jackson doll, and I've never seen one, I don't think, but I like to imagine they would be similar to those Ernest dolls that they did back in the day. Slightly horrifying, but a whole lot of fun. Yeah, which lines up pretty well with later things to do with Michael Jackson, but we're not going to get into that. Point is, he gets his Michael Jackson doll, and his mom decides to UFC his ass to death. And I think there's something tragic about that. Every time I watch it, it doesn't choke me up because let's be honest, it's a Seaver movie. I've been laughing the entire time up to this point. But there is like a genuinely heartfelt performance, I think, there with Jessie Ames, again, I believe is her name, where she's like crying while she's choking him out. And I think that Josh Swire took the movie pretty fucking seriously too with his performance, as seriously as you can making one of these movies with Chris. Does that come across to anybody else, or is that just me?
No. I think you're pretty right on right there.
Yeah.
I always feel bad when she kills Alistair. It's like, some of these people did have it coming, I don't know, murdering them is the
they all have it coming at the end of it all. I've just Alistair, all the girls that are in this, everybody had it coming except for the one that doesn't die. So, and maybe the pledge, which that's, like I said, that's probably the only one that I was actually kind of sad to see die, was the pledge. The rest of them were like, you had it coming. As they say in Chicago.
I guess this, Heather Maxim, the smaller of the lesbians, I feel like she kind of stood up for him at one point. So maybe she didn't have it coming either, as bad at least as the other ones, because I think she was like, oh, come on, that's a little crazy. She was mostly guilty. Her and even the big bustier lesbian played by Jessie Ames also, they seemed mostly guilty of just sort of making or laughing mostly at him being made fun of.
Just going along with it.
Yeah, they weren't actively the ones that were like encouraging it for the most part or perpetrating it for the most part. Sandra was really the worst of all of them, the drunk girl. And she was the worst human in the whole movie. She's blatantly racist. She's meant to be unlikable as fuck, And honestly, I think her death was maybe, even though it was like pretty mean-spirited, probably the least sadistic of all of them. I almost would have liked to have seen her be the one to puke up her heart, but I get how that worked better with the other girl, and the lead-up scene to it with the weed smoking was pretty funny. So it works out perfectly. And it's probably my favorite scene of the movie, which we're going to get into here momentarily. But yeah, I think overall the movie plays out pretty much the way that you would hope it does. Like you said, even Alistair himself by the end has hit that point of being creepy enough that you kind of want to see him die. I think if Chris could have afforded to do a more elaborate thing with his death scene, he probably would have. But there is also something funny about him getting the Michael Jackson doll and then her just him to death, do
the equivalent
so
of
up close and personal. And
I think they should have done the equivalent of the Christmas tree kill or that candle kill, and just have it to where she stabs him through the chest with the Michael Jackson doll. That would have been work.
I would have fun with that.
Pretty sweet.
Maybe have him do a little whoop after that.
Well, I assume Michael Jackson dolls existed, but I would also assume maybe the reason they Pulp Fictioned it is because Chris wasn't paying eBay prices for one of those to put in the movie. I'm sure they're probably expensive if they are a thing. So he's like, fuck it, we'll just Pulp Fiction the thing. I probably would have made a Michael Jackson doll out of like a darker complexioned Ken doll and used that as my Jackson doll, but that also would have been very obvious that that's what it was and would have shattered some of the nostalgia of it. And Chris seems to try to err on the side of accuracy when he can with that sort of stuff. So I can understand the way they did it, but that kill would have been glorious with the little Michael Jackson doll coming through him. Maybe he's like looks down at it sticking out of his chest and then says something like "tee," and then just fucking dies. That would have been pretty good. But I do like the way she's sort of cradling him like a child, and then just chokes him out while she's doing that. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, just another example of really conservative length holly jolly homicide for the holidays. You can't go wrong with Happy Helladays. This movie is a blast. You will laugh at certain parts of it. You will cringe at certain parts of it. You will be grossed out by certain parts of it, but that's all entirely intentional and works together in equal parts, I think, to make this movie pretty fucking fun for what it is. Do you guys have favorite scenes? I guess let's do favorite character, favorite scene. Mine would be Skippy, and my favorite scene would be him popping out of the Christmas present and using his sonic wave assault to make that girl puke out her fucking organs.
Brandon, you go ahead.
Maybe the talent show thing. I just like that guy, the guy that they use as the. I liked how Chris is up there doing the bit where he clearly doesn't even know what's going on. Sounds like he's gonna sing that song from Madonna,
Like a Virgin.
Yeah, like a virgin.
Like a virgin. And he clearly doesn't know what's going on.
What does he say the song is afterwards when he does the outro too? He's like, I think he calls it like "Smell My Farts" by Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just good stuff. He looks all disheveled, like he got dressed by being fucking shot through a thrift store in a cannon. Like it's just great, dude. That's a good favorite. What about favorite character? Did you give us one of those, Brandon?
Also the announcer. To me, he was the most likable character in the movie, so I can't.
Yeah, Chris and Skippy are the MVPs of this for sure. What about you, Cody?
Favorite character, I don't know. I would say probably my favorite part of the movie was when Skippy came into the house with the lantern. Not the window, but when he came in for the party and he's still carrying the lantern around for no reason. I kind of wished he would have had it with him also at the pizza place just to kind of complete it all. But him coming into the house with the lantern for no reason at all was probably my favorite part of the movie.
That'd have been pretty great. Another scene that would have really benefited from the lantern is if while he was getting his balls cut off, he kind of held it down there, like in the back of the balls. So you just see Josh pulling on the ball bag with the pear knife and then cutting it. And then maybe blood could have splashed on the lantern as he snipped the, like a little,
could have had a shadow effect.
That would have been perfect. So I guess, also secondary answer to Cody's question is his favorite character would be the lantern. I
think so.
Character.
So.
Great character.
He really lit up the scenes when he showed up.
You can't go wrong with this type of stuff from Chris, man. I mean, much like the Death of Lantern double feature, if you can swoop up this Warlock home video double feature and get both this and the Dingleberries, you're just in for a relatively good time on two relatively short movies. Isn't the Dingleberries is only 38 minutes long. So, it's not his best movie, but it's fun and it's 38 minutes.
Yeah,
paired with this
out in less
fucking
than an hour and a half.
masterpiece. Yeah. And then there's special features on there as well. This is available directly through Chris, or you can get the movies individually on sovhorror.com, which might have been where Brandon had ordered.
That's probably That's probably where it was.
Was a massive logo at the beginning of that trailer. I'm surprised that you missed that. This is the first 15 seconds of it. But no, they've got a lot of Chris stuff on there, as well as another one that was a joint directorial effort between him and Josh, which I believe is called A Night at Aunt Bedelia's. That's one of the only Seaver movies that's readily available that I don't have yet, is that one. And as I mentioned, this is allegedly a directorial co-production for Chris and Josh. I do believe Josh knows what he's doing. at least when it comes to the performance stuff, that's obvious. So it does feel like maybe it's true that they did that, but it's hard to pin it down with Warlock because Chris was doing that whole fictitious SOV company from the 90s thing with Warlock. So I don't know if him crediting Josh as the director is real or like kayfabe wrestling style.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it does feel like there is a little element of maniacal sinisterness to this that isn't present in a lot of Chris's other stuff that I feel like maybe did come from Josh. Maybe he wasn't fully directing the movie in the way that we would think based on the claim from behind the camera, but he was certainly helping steer this movie with his performance in the very least. So it's probably true depending on which sense you want to look at it when it comes to who actually directed it. I'm pretty sure Chris mostly directed it though, because 90% of it feels like a lot of other Chris Seaver movies that we've seen, but there's just that certain quality to Happy Helladays that kind of sets it apart a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Is this one that you guys would recommend to Seaver fans? Obviously, need to see this, but would you recommend this generally to fans of low budget schlock and holiday horror?
Yeah, low budget. I could see. I mean, if they like a good low budget, I would say micro budget film fans, because there's B movie and then there's micro budget fans, and I would say micro budget fans definitely.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think
that's a fair distinction to make.
I think you could be fans of B movies and not even give this movie the time of day.
Well, and see, that's the thing. We're kind of in this modern era of this stuff being more accessible than ever to people, as we talked about when we did our internet discussion the other day. And there's a lot of people that like B movies, but B movies to them are still like a $200,000 movie.
Right.
Psycho Gorman is a low budget B movie to certain horror fans, and it's like it's a moderately budget tribute to B movies and Power Rangers and The Guyver and things like that. But I don't know that I think of that as low budget. But we're on the micro budget side, Cody, which is something that sometimes I sort of forget isn't an obvious distinction to people. Like, yes, you liking Psycho Gorman is not a problem. We all like it too, for the most part, but it's not a low budget movie by our standards, because low budget to me is like, $500 in a cheese sandwich. Like that's what I think of as a low budget movie, but in reality, that's a micro budget film or a no budget movie, if you will.
Right.
So, yeah, I would definitely recommend it to people like that. I can state with just proper confidence, because I've done it, you can show this to a crowd of normal people. Showed it to a sizable one not that long ago, I guess about a year ago. And most of them loved it on some level. Even my mom thought that this was pretty fucking... I mean, she definitely was like, you're weird, why do you watch this shit? But she was laughing through most of the movie, because it's just so unhinged and insane and random and not what you're expecting. So I think this is one of those Chris movies, because of its length, even people that aren't into micro budget stuff can get a nice little dose of holiday schlock out of this and have a good time with it. Because it is really just like 45 minutes long,
Yep.
My mom also enjoyed Chris as the announcer at the pageants. She got quite the kick out of that as well, especially when I was like, that's him, that's the dude, because I've told them like, oh, we've interviewed this guy and hung out with him and stuff. But I don't think she'd ever seen what Chris looked like. She'd only seen like snippets of Seaver movies when she came over here for something, and I happened to be watching one. But that was the first time she's put a face to a name, and it's like, oh, okay, it makes sense that asshole is making these, So Happy Holidays, not only would I recommend to micro budget and low budget horror fans, I'd recommend just show it to people haphazardly. Don't even fucking, find out if they like this stuff or not beforehand. Just show them this and see what their reaction is to it. It might be a bad reaction, but it'll be fun for you at least. So. Yeah, now comes the point. I think that we've done what we can do with this. You guys think we did this justice?
I think so.
I feel good about it. You let us know if we fucked anything up, Chris, or you make any corrections you need to down there in the comments below, and people will rightfully believe you more than us because you made the fucking movie, and that's how it should be. We don't know shit. We're just three idiots talking about B movies on on a Saturday, and I hope that you have enjoyed this. So we're gonna present our selections for next month. I'm gonna let you two go first. So let us know what you're putting in the wheel, and we will fire that bitch off. And see
Go ahead, Brandon.
I'm hoping to get an interview in with Evan Jacobs next month sometime with us if we can all arrange our times together. So I wanted to do one of his films. And so I asked him, I was like, what would be a good, I asked him could you take a look at some of our format and see what you think? What would be a good, which one would you like to have covered on the format? And he said, you know what? Have the Cojones virus on there. So, which is one of his newer films from this past year. So, or from this year, because it's not 2023 yet. But so technically, yeah, it's from this year. And I think it'll be fun. I think we'll have fun with it. We talk about micro budget. Hard to get more micro budget than that.
He's been announcing a lot of stuff lately too. It's pretty neat.
Oh yeah, this man is like nonstop doing stuff.
Well, my pick, I think I probably beat you to it, Brandon, because I'm sure if I wasn't going to do it, you were going to do it soon enough. But I'm going with Carousel, the first one. Movie's nuts. Such a funny movie. I definitely think it's right up our alley. I'm looking forward to seeing what Mo thinks about when he watches it, because it's just a fun, crazy. It's about a horse from a carousel that comes to life and kills people. So, what more could you ask for?
Every one of my alleys. Yeah, I'm there for it, brother. I think that's going to be great. Mine is going to play off of this. Now, Brandon had suggested that, we do Dingleberries subtly, and I kind of was tempted. I was tempted for a minute. But I think that the best follow-up to Happy Helladays we're going to stick with the Josh Swire theme for a minute since we did this one. So my next Seaver selection is, in my opinion, his next best fucking performance. His first best performance is Terror at Bloodfart Lake, which we will be doing later in the year. But my next selection is going to be Evil Night. We got to get this one in the bag, and it is the perfect follow-up to Happy Helladays, because it's basically Josh playing like a Carrie / Michael Myers type character. He's a nerd that's tormented to the point where he throws on a clown mask, Cody, and just goes around killing people with implements of terror, like, your typical knives and dildos, and his telekinetic powers. It features porn star extraordinaire Marilyn Mason in all her juggly glory. So we've got that to look forward to as well. Just lots of cool, fun stuff. So we're going to spin for these movies right now and see what we come up with. I can't exactly put it up on the screen right now, but I can, show you guys that I am indeed seeing. So we have Carousel, Evil Night, and the Cojones virus. Let's get that bad boy going. It should dim it. Cojones virus.
Yay!
So that is going to be our first selection for the month of January. So now all that's left to do is to spin between Evil Night and Carousel and see which is going to be our second selection. And then, as is always the case over here, whoever loses that is, well, the third selection. So that's just how it goes. So I don't know, man. You want to, while I let this reload, let them know maybe what some of your guys' other selections are going to be this year? I'm definitely going to be dropping Mac and Me on the boards at some point. That's one that I'm going to be firing into this bitch, and I think that we're going to have a good time.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to throw a Camp Blood in there somewhere for sure. I'd like to get
Brandon?
I was on mute. That's why. I want to eventually hit the what was it? Those John Johnson Skeleton Key films. But if I do those, I'm going to have to do several in a row. Who's up next?
So we are doing the Cojones Virus, then Evil Night, and then Carousel for our next wave of reviews here on Schlockaholics. And that's the beauty of this. You get a good lineup either way. The randomness in it is just who goes first, who goes second, and then who closes out the month. So all great movies. Well, I would assume so, or you guys wouldn't have selected them. Cojones Virus, I'm not gonna lie, Brandon, is the one that I'm most skeptical of, because it's just, but you guys know I have a natural skepticism when it comes to these Corona movies. I've got a couple of them coming from Full Moon as well that I'm sure I'll like, but is it the thing I'm gonna watch in 10 years? I don't know. Evan Jacobs, by far out of all the ones that I know of, looks like one that I could probably enjoy repeat viewings of. So that's something.
It's one of its better B movie films. We'll have to hit Death Toilet one of these days as well, but
we have to love them.
It's a further down the road thing for me on that one.
Dude, we'll have to do a revisit of old Shusty Levine with fucking Cody one of these days. That movie is a goddamn masterpiece. I mean, everybody should see that at some point. And even though it isn't maybe what most people think of as schlock, it is a really low budget, like, mockumentary boxing movie. And that fits the fucking criteria, man. I mean, so definitely one we'll have to get going. I think the one I'm most excited about is Carousel, because I know I love Evil Night, and like I said, I'm slightly skeptical of the Cojones, but we'll get into it. But Carousel is like that's the surefire bet, I feel like, even if you guys don't like Evil Nights, Carousel should be or I don't like Cojones Virus, Carousel should be a sure thing, you know what I mean? So we got it made for the month of January. Pretty strong opening lineup for the year. Like, subscribe, share this to your friends, get involved. Come over here, ask us questions about these movies, share your opinions in the comments just to get them out there. We'll read them off on air for you. We got nothing better to do. And, thank you for watching. It's been a fun year of Schlockaholics. I think that this has gone much better than a lot of people would have. Well, I think it's gone about as well as most people would hope, but it's gone better than I could have dreamed of, We've worked together despite scheduling conflicts and things like that to get these out to people on a semi-regular basis. We've had a lot of fun. We've made some memories. We've interacted with people that we probably wouldn't have otherwise. And that's all I ever wanted out of this stuff, So hopefully you guys all have a happy holiday. We will be here for you, waiting once the new year has dawned, with a bunch more shitty movies to talk about. Thanks for giving us the time of day. This one's for you guys. Cheers. We'll see you back here real soon. You got any parting words for the people, Brandon? Give them some wisdom. Give them some advice.
Cheers.
Don't run with scissors, kids. Always wrap your willy. And put your movies back in their cases. I've been having some trouble with people around here not putting fucking discs back in the cases, and they're never going to listen to this, but I just want you to know you have been scorned live on the interwebs for your fucking transgressions. Stop doing it.